What's up, guys? EJ Stewart here, joined by Kendall Stewart with another NBA draft versus breakdown. Today we'll be talking about two of the best big men in this upcoming draft. Chet Holmgren from Gonzaga, Jalen Duren from Memphis. If you follow this YouTube channel, you follow our podcast long enough, you would know that, of course, I am the Gonzaga fan on this channel. Kendall is the Memphis fan on this channel. So we felt like this would be a very natural conversation, a very natural debate. It's a debate we have off air all the time. Kendall's guy, Jalen Duren, his freshman, my guy, Chet Holmgren, Gonzaga freshman. We're going to break it down like that. We're going to go with you making the case for Jalen Duren, a guy who has been seen as a top 10 guy, not necessarily a guy in the top 3 or 4, which we've seen from Chet Holmgren. And I'll make the case for my guy with the Zags, Chet Holmgren. So I'll let you go first. Since this is a uphill battle for you a little bit.
Hey, look,
so I'll let you go first and make the case for Jalen Duren over Chet Holmgren in this upcoming draft.
So here's what I'll say. I mean, look, of course it's an uphill battle.
Yes.
Look, it was an uphill battle when these two matched off, with Memphis going up against Gonzaga. The good thing for me is that the refs aren't involved this time. So, it should be a much easier time.
Look, if it wasn't for the refs, Gonzaga would have been playing in the last weekend. But I digress.
It should be a much easier time for Jalen Duren. But no, I think it is an uphill battle. We're talking about a guy in Chet Holmgren that is, in many people's eyes, the projected number 1 pick in the draft.
Yes.
Whereas Jalen Duren, some people don't have in the top 10. Mm-hmm. And so you may say to yourself, this is a ludicrous debate. But I think that there is some merit to considering, having a discussion about if you're in a draft war room and you need a 5-man, maybe you're not debating should I draft Jalen Duren number 1, but is there better value in drafting Jalen Duren maybe even 5 or 6, as opposed to reaching for Chet Holmgren at number 1. And I think when you talk about Jalen Duren, obviously, when we're projecting a guy immediately, he has the physical tools to play in the NBA from day one. He's obviously built like an NBA player. He looks like what, high-level big men, starting NBA centers look like at the NBA level. And so immediately what role he's playing. Mm-hmm. He's not super skilled at this stage of his career, only 18 years old right now. But, again, from a physical standpoint, he's got checks every box you'd want besides maybe height for what you'd look for in an NBA center. And you're talking about a guy that, when we're projecting out, obviously long-term, people look to guys like Bam Adebayo. They look to Dwight Howard as sort of archetypes that he'd like to fit under. But I think even immediately, I look at a guy like Robert Williams and I say, could Jalen Duren, with his defensive prowess, with his athleticism, with his ability to protect the rim, again, with that athleticism and his length, as well as his ability on the offensive end to be an excellent screener, an excellent roll man, an excellent vertical floor spacer, and an excellent lob threat. The guy is dominant down low. Can he fit a role similar to what Robert Williams does for the Celtics immediately, off the bat? And if you know where you're getting from that guy, whereas you look at a guy like Chet Holmgren that is a little bit of a unicorn in a sense that you don't really know what you're going to get. It could be great. It was great in college basketball. What is that going to look like at the NBA level? I'm not sure. So that's where I look at Jalen Duren. And then the other thing is, the age. Chet Holmgren's not 25, but he's 19, whereas Jalen Duren's 18. And I think we saw Jalen Duren come into college basketball a year early than he maybe needed to. Mm-hmm. And he was fine playing college basketball, but you can see he was a little bit more raw and that the jumping competition was a little bit of a struggle, especially early on. I wonder, what does Jalen Duren look like next year at the college basketball level if he had that extra year that Chet Holmgren had? So, those are my arguments for why I think Jalen Duren, could be a guy that you look at. But I'm excited to see what you got to say.
Yeah, well, Duren's a young 18. I think he turns 18 in November.
Youngest player in the draft, right?
Yeah, he turns 18 in November, which is why he was able to come up a year in this past college basketball season. Yeah. He was supposed to be in the previous recruiting class. Look, the one thing I will say about Duren when it comes to the match between him and Chet is, if you look at physique, that is the one thing I say, okay, that's something that I feel much more confident in with Jalen Duren being able to adjust to the NBA game than Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren is almost now infamously known for being 7'1" but 195 pounds. So Jalen Duren being 6'11", 6'10", 260, solid muscle. I mean, the guy looks like he could play, on the defensive end for the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, he is one of the best physiques in this NBA draft. I see that side and say, okay, maybe he may be more ready for at least the NBA physicality. But you talk about skill set, and that's where I lean with Chet Holmgren, because we talk a lot about, oh, he's this unicorn or he's this project, but like he has tangible NBA skills right now that translate. He shot 39% from three this year. His shooting was a little weird. It was a very weird 39% because like he started this year struggling, and then he was red hot to the second half of the season. Then he didn't shoot well in the tournament, so it was kind of like, it averaged out 39%. But still, that's 39%. I mean, he's shown he can be a knockdown shooter. He's an excellent ball handler and passer. I mean, the work he did with him and Timmy in that high-low game when Gonzaga was dominant. And then we get about the offensive skills. The defensive skills, for Duren against a lot of prospects, you're going to look at his defense and say, look, his defense is going to be a notch above most big men you're looking for. Chet's defense is better.
Yep.
Chet's better switching off on guards. Chet's better at the rim. Chet's better guarding the post, which you would think would be a little surprising considering Chet is lighter, but his length and his long arms allow him to just swallow up defenders. And one of the biggest examples we saw of that was in that game against Memphis against Jalen Duren.
Yeah.
Early in that game, Memphis tried to attack Chet early on multiple times by using Duren's physical play in the post, and he couldn't score over him. It was very clear that they had to move away from that plan. That was not going to work in that game. And I've seen so many teams this past season try to do that against Chet. I think we just look at the overall upside of a player of his caliber, his skill set. I think it would be a very big risk to take that over a guy like Duren, who certainly looks like an NBA pro. I mean, if he didn't play 10 years in the NBA, I would be shocked. I would legitimately be shocked.
Yeah.
But, is he more of like a Theo Ratliff or like an Otis Thorpe kind of guy? And those guys are good players. You laugh. Like, those guys are not, Otis Thorpe is a two-time NBA champion. Like, Theo Ratliff led the league in blocks at one point in his career. So, but where is the offensive tangible play we've seen beyond that? It's weird at Memphis, the numbers, when you look at their offensive numbers, they ran him in post-up. That was the majority of his offense at Memphis.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
And it was not good. He was in the 40th percentile in post-ups, which is rated out to average by Synergy Sports. Points per possession, .776. Those are very pedestrian numbers. And that was 25% of his offense. Yeah. When you look at Chet Holmgren, most of his offense was in transition. He was excellent in transition. He was at 93rd percentile when it comes to efficiency. So is some of Duren's some of the way he was used, or does it speak to some of his offensive limitations?
So I think what that speaks to, obviously, I watched pretty much every Memphis game.
Yeah.
There were some dark days this season.
No question.
It turned around at the end. And I think what that speaks to is, there was some of that is coaching, but I also understand the predicament that roster was in, where the point guard play was not terrific. And I'd look at when you get Jalen Duren at the NBA level, where he's playing with a world-class point guard, really in any team he's playing.
Right. Much better than whoever was playing point guard at Memphis.
Whoever you want to talk about at Memphis, the guy is going to be leaps and bounds better. And NBA offenses don't run post-ups for almost anybody.
That's true.
There's maybe 3 or 4 guys. You can name on 1 or 2 hands the amount of players that get isolations and post-ups at that level at the big spot. And Jalen Duren's not going to have any in the NBA.
Right. That's never going to be a play to call.
The break glass in case of emergency plan is to give Jalen Duren a post up at the next level, at least from day one. And so the things that we're going to ask him to do is, again, be a role man, be a screener, be a guy who's going to score on second chance opportunities on the offensive glass. Be a guy who, again, is just going to be a guy who on defense protects the rim, guards the other team's best big, and can switch on to guards and do a good job as well. I think those things are he has to find his skill and just and look, I think you risked a lot by throwing out the Theo Ratliff, Otis Thorpe comp, because that could come back, in a couple of years. If Jalen Duren's a great player, we're gonna look back and be like, you called him Theo Ratliff.
I said, is he? It was a question. Is he Theo Ratliff? Is he Otis Thorpe? And again, those guys were long-time NBA veterans and very good players. Again, Otis Thorpe started on a team that won back-to-back championships, and Theo Ratliff, again, led the league in blocks. These are not scrubs for those who may be a little too young to watch those guys play. Yeah. But when I just think of guys, those guys were physically so imposing.
This reminds me a lot.
And then the defense, especially with a guy like Theo Ratliff, But these guys were limited offensively. They were good players, decent players offensively, but they didn't have a lot, so their ceilings were a little low.
I'm not. This guy's a Hall of Famer, so I don't like throwing out Hall of Fame names and saying like this guy's gonna be this guy. He plays a little bit differently, but strengths and weaknesses kind of similar. You know who else is very physical? Ben Wallace.
I know you're gonna go to
Ben Wallace. Ben Wallace didn't have much of an offensive game. Obviously, Ben Wallace also coached by Larry Brown and played with Rasheed Wallace, who was with Memphis for a period of time. The season, didn't have much of an offensive game, but was just a complete physical specimen and a guy that could do, obviously everything on the defensive end with his athleticism and his strength. I feel like Jalen Duren, he may not be that guy from day one, but I feel like 3-4 years from now, like he may wind up being that kind of physical domination kind of guy. The thing I will say about Chet that is encouraging is when you talked about the post ups, the natural rebuttal. And I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. The natural rebuttal is going to be, what are you going to do against NBA guys? But I'll be honest, NBA bigs aren't that good. Like Jalen Duren, in my opinion, is better than a lot of starting centers at the NBA level. Like, if Jalen Duren couldn't do anything, you're like, look, what is Chet Holmgren going to do against Joel Embiid?
That's probably not going to end well.
But it doesn't end well for 90% of bigs right now.
Exactly.
So the only thing that worries me about Chet's physique right now, and look, would he have been as great in the 90s with that physique? Probably not, because the bigs were better.
Right, yeah.
He would have had to bulk up, but that's not as important nowadays. The thing that worries me is just injury concern. He had no injuries.
He had no injuries playing off full college basketball season.
Had injuries, that Chet didn't have. So sometimes the physique doesn't matter. But that would be the thing that is a little bit of a red flag. The shooting does concern me. It could be an anomaly, but it is strange how you mentioned beginning of the season for Gonzaga, the toughest competition, didn't shoot well. Then conference play against lesser competition shoots the ball better, and then in the NCAA tournament where the competition ramps up again, he doesn't shoot well. That could
the only thing was weird. The only thing I will say about that is,
he has to be on the offensive level. A guy like Chet Holmgren, he doesn't have any sort of signature skill. Right now, he's just a guy who's just tall.
His signature skill is that he's very versatile.
Yeah, and he can handle the ball better than 90% of guys his size, or probably 100% of guys his size. So that's Kevin Durant. But, like, at the NBA level, that gets you someplace, but are you special?
Yeah.
That's
I got
you.
The
question.
And I think when it comes to the shooting, it's very weird. Again, when you look at the advanced analytics, you'll see 39% from three. But you look at the advanced analytics, like, he as good as he was on jump shots, he shot in the 68th percentile on all jump shots in the half court, which is very good. He was like in the 50th percentile in catch and shoot. So when I would say, as someone who did watch Gonzaga and did watch those conference games and then watch those early season games, late season games, I mean, he was like a lot of times just missing open shots. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, that's
but it's not. But when we say competition, it wasn't like to me. Right. These guys are guarding him better, and therefore he's not getting as many good looks.
That's
he was getting good looks against those teams. He just wasn't making them.
That's something why I don't know. Investigate. Is it a situation where he's expending more energy
defensively and other aspects of offense? That's true. That's a fair point.
That's the thing that I would think about, because you're right. Your shooting in theory should translate regardless of who you're playing against. If it's the same shot quality.
The one thing I will say about both guys, which is interesting, and it goes back to how they were used, is neither guy was used very much in pick and roll.
Yeah, and that's where I think that they will be used the most.
You would think. Now Duren did very well in the small times he did use the pick and roll, which then shout out to the Memphis staff. We got great relationships with them, but you wonder why wasn't there more pick and roll usage there.
It goes back to the guard play.
Yeah, and then Chet Holmgren struggled in pick and roll. He was not as effective as that roll man going to the basket. Wasn't used very often in that. I think Drew Timme made more sense in that role, so that made sense for Gonzaga. But why was that? You would think in the NBA he will be put in more of those situations. So that is something I think to pay attention to. But also I think with Chet, I think that one thing that we didn't mention is there's going to be some positional versatility too, because you could put Chet at the 4. In the NBA now, you have a 4-man that can't shoot, and then assuming your 5-man can't shoot, because Duren is not a jump shooter. He's nothing. He can't shoot
6 years
old. And most of his baskets is going to come 5 feet from the basket or less. So if you're talking about being able to space out the court, you really can't do that in terms of being versatile with him positionally. He's really only a 5. Chet, because he can knock down a three and can handle the rock and can drive. He spaces the floor a lot better, so he gives you a lot more options offensively. You could put a 5-man next to him and not be concerned, like Gonzaga did all year, and be fine. So I think that's another aspect that kind of gives Chet an edge over Duren.
The other thing that does worry me about Chet offensively is also when it comes back to not having that skill, it's easier to switch on a guy like Chet Holmgren because, like, for example, if a team like the Celtics switched Marcus Smart on to Chet Holmgren, there's no concern there right now at this stage. You know, he's not a mismatch really for most guys. You can't maybe switch like Darius Garland onto him, but like he's got to become either stronger, he's got to become better in the post, or he's got to become a better shooter. But he's got to find ways to attack mismatches when he can, because if not, the NBA level.
Now you say that, but when teams in college tried to do that, he destroyed them. Right. Now these are 6'3", West Coast Conference guards. A 6'3" NBA guard is going to be, you give a little more of a resistance, but that was a thought. Was that, you could bully him around and stuff. We could switch anybody on him. And I mean, you could see that first game against Georgia State. I could watch you guys playing those games. Not necessarily even against not even necessarily against just the West Coast Conference teams, against some of the other better teams.
Yeah.
When they switch small guys. I mean, he's just, for a guy, he's not like he's 7'5", but he just looks 7'5". Like, I guess he's so long, his arms are so long. Like, good luck switching guys shorter on him. Marcus Smart he's an alien. He's not normal.
Yeah.
But I don't know if teams will have that kind of success. Now, obviously, you can't do that with Duren. He's just gonna put your guy under the basket. He's too strong. But Chet has shown that strategy has not worked either. So,
is there anything that you want to see improve with Chet?
I haven't mentioned. I think with Chet, no. I think the physique is important. I think the consistency with the jump shot is important. I think that those, to me, that when I look at Chet and whether or not he becomes this franchise caliber player, I think that's really the make or break thing. I don't have any concern. I think the defense is real. I don't know if others are concerned about that, but I think that he really is. He steps into the league. He's one of the best rim protectors, shot blockers in the NBA. Yeah,
he's top.
He's one of the best guys switching on guys as far as bigs in the NBA. So the defense, he's going to be an impact defensive player, a very high impact defensive player. It's the offensive skill set I think is going to be the pendulum swing in terms of whether or not he's a star, whether he's a good starter or a rotational kind of player. And to me, the first thing is the three ball. If he can really hit that three ball at a 39, 40% clip and be more consistent with it, I think that's a star. I don't think there's any, because now I don't know how you guard a guy like that. If he's not, it's okay. Well, what other skills is he creating offensively? He doesn't have the physique to beat anybody in the post. So I think you make fair points with Chet. Or is there anything I said about Jalen that you feel like was fair that you would say that he has to improve on?
I think the jump shot is key. Yeah. He showed flashes of being able to hit the occasional, elbow jump shot. In high school, he was a guy that, was not afraid to shoot the basketball.
Yeah.
I think if he can, I'm not saying he needs a three-point shot right now, but if he can, be some sort of threat outside of the paint, like you mentioned, that would go a long way in increasing his value offensively. And I think, look, he's going to go up against bigger guys, man. There's a guy in high school that it always looked so easy. It always looked so easy for Jalen Duren in high school. That was why it was made no point in him playing another season of high school basketball.
Right.
That the jump to college was important. And I think early on in the season, there was the jumping competition and the physicality, bothered him a little bit. He was still great, but it wasn't the same kind of dominance that he had in high school.
Right.
We saw the last month and a half of the season when Memphis went on their run, a Jalen Duren that played with more ferocity, played with more aggression and more toughness. And that guy, he's gonna have to play like that for 82 games,
right,
for an NBA team. I kind of am glad that he's going to be going to probably a little better of a team if he goes later in the lottery that, isn't going to ask him to be a 20-10 guy every night.
Yeah.
But just ask him to do simple things defensively, and hopefully he goes to a good team that has a chance to win because, a team like the Memphis Grizzlies potentially that could have a draft pick, or the New Orleans Pelicans that could have a draft pick.
Yeah.
Depending on which team gets that Laker pick. If he goes to, or, the Charlotte Hornets could be an interesting spot for him.
Right.
And if he goes to a team like that, I think we'll see that guy every night, the guy who dunks everything. That's gonna, and that's what Memphis told him, and that's what whatever team gets him at the NBA level. You got in the paint, you got to dunk everything because that's how he needs to play. He needs to play with his hair on fire, and when he does, this is a guy who could be better than any player in this draft when it's all said and done. But it's just going to come down to the fit. But like I said, Robert Williams doesn't shoot. Robert Williams can't post up.
No, but he's an
extremely valuable piece.
Extremely impactful piece, no question about that. But what do you guys think of this conversation? Do you lean Chet? Did Kendall make good points? Or are you now leaning Jalen Duren? Make sure you leave a comment in the comment section with what you're thinking in terms of this conversation. Of course, if you like this video, make sure you give us a like and subscribe to the channel, New Generation Media. We'll be doing plenty more of these draft versus videos throughout the draft season, so keep your eyes peeled here. That'll do it for now. For Kendall, I'm EJ. Take it easy, guys. Peace.